We just got done building that World Rally Blue 2011 STI. We just got done building that hatch. We have another STI that we're building before we can jump back on our own project. So right here, we have another 08 to 14 STI in this like beautiful like plasma blue pearl purple color. It's one of my favorite Subaru colors. They didn't do it for that long. It looks really good. This car, we're doing built motor, turbo upgrade, probably fueling upgrades. I need to go through all the parts that are in the car because I don't remember. Now, funny enough, this car's been here for a couple of days. I started it yesterday to move it and I could hear a slight rod knock already on cold start. So the owner wasn't aware of any rod knock issues that this car may have had. So this is the first time that I have heard it and that he has heard it. And it's very faint. I'm gonna try to get it on camera for you guys. I'm gonna pop the hood on this thing. We're gonna let this thing run for a second, pull it into the shop and start to get this thing torn apart. Cold start rod knock, man. It'll sneak up on you. It'll get you. Yo, those fruit snacks. Of course, now it's not gonna do it. Of course, right when I want to show you guys, now it doesn't make the noise. Let's get this thing pulled in the shop, start tearing it down, build it into something way better. And we got to go through all the parts because I don't know what we do and what we do not have yet for that thing. I saw a clutch in there, I saw a turbo in there. Oh yeah, dude, that thing smells interesting. Overview of the car for what I can see right off the bat. Cobb SF intake, ETS top mount, 3-port boost controller. What else we got on here? Cobb downpipe, IAG. I think that's a V2 AOS. They're on the V4 now. That's really all I can see off the bat. So this thing is getting one of my V2 built engines, which is rod and piston. We have a whole tub of goodies here. I saw a turbo inlet, fuel system, some gauges we're going to be installing, Grimspeed up pipe, ACT clutch, OEM oil pump, gasket seal kit, brand new OEM oil pan, fluid damper, SMY gauge pod, and a Blausch turb ski. So this should be a pretty solid setup. I'm not a huge fan of Blausch turbos, but they do work. They work okay. So same thing as before. The way I'm gonna go into this is start tearing everything out of the way that I can. That's going to be intake, alternator can come out, battery can come out, top mount can come out, then we'll get the car up in the air. I'll start to let the coolant and the oil drain out of this. Radiator will come out, intake manifold will come out, turbo will come out. Then at that point, we'll probably pull the engine. So we're back into tearing another Subaru apart. This one I'm actually really excited for. We don't get to do a lot of stock location builds for people, and if they do, a lot of them are just OEM style rebuilds. So being able to do an FP turbo or a Blausch turbo or any of these other turbos on stock location, getting them set up properly, I get excited for. So with anything, with tearing these things down like we do, I get everything off the top of the engine. I covered it in the last video. Yes, you can 100% pull the engine, the intake manifold, and everything else still on. I like to just get everything out of the way. I find personally it makes it a lot easier to get the bell housing bolts off of the transmission, and it's just so much easier to pull. But you can do it either way, whatever way you're comfortable with. Just be the boss. Remember how in the last customer video I was like, some engines just don't want to come out? This was one of them. Dude, it was just holding on for dear life onto that transmission. It's the two little pegs that come off the trans that go into the block. It did not want to let go. It was like 20 minutes of hammering, flatheads in between the engine and the transmission, paint scrapers, anything I could get in there. Finally, it came out. Now, the worst is yet to come. Getting it out is the easy part. The annoying part at this point is getting the cam gears off. So this one is getting a new motor. So obviously I need to take the heads off. I need to drop off the heads at the machine shop in the morning to be resurfaced and pressure checked. Then we're gonna go through the heads, we're gonna disassemble them, add in some Brian Crower valve springs, replace the valve stem seals, and then build our new long block, get it back in and start putting a lot of this good stuff back on here. So fingers crossed these cam gears come off without too much issue. I really don't wanna drill any of them out. So I'm just hoping. Now, when it comes to rebuilds or building an engine for somebody, this is always the worst part in my opinion. Sometimes the cam gears don't like to come off. Now, the trick that I've been using that has worked every single time, I have not had it let me down yet, it works 90% of the time, 100% of the time, is put a little bit of valve grinding compound inside of the cam gear sprocket of that 10mm Allen, tap them in with a hammer, and typically you can get them out without rounding anything. Sometimes you do gotta use a little bit of force, but I haven't had them not come out yet. Everything's stripped down, ready to go. I've got the heads loaded up for this in the truck. We're gonna drop those off at the machine shop in the morning. We've got our brand new Smeedia V2 block here that's gonna be going in the car, so that's gonna be fun. I do need to pull some of the plugs, plates, things like that off this engine to put on this engine. Once those are on, then we can put it on the stand, start assembling it. Well, there was a small change in plans for some of the parts. Instead of using that blouse turbo that was provided, we're actually swapping it over to an FP green. So now this car will be an FP green car. So today is Tuesday. Drop the heads off at the machine shop Wednesday. I should be able to pick them up Thursday or Friday, pending they pass pressure check. If they pass, then we're gonna bring them back here. We need to swap out the valve springs in them all, so we're gonna swap out all the valve springs, get the new engine built, get it timed, get it in, and then start building. I wanted to build this engine on the stand, then drop it in just to prove a point to everyone, but I need to build a fuel system for it, so I kind of need the engine in the car to be able to figure out line lengths and everything for that. I mean, I can do a certain extent of it on the stand, but we'll just drop it in. We'll just do it the normal way. So I will update you guys as soon as we get our cylinder heads back. Then we can start putting this thing together. I'm actually really excited for this car. This is gonna be a really good street car for the owner. It'll be good, it'll be solid. I'm excited for it. I'm a man of many flavors, and one of those flavors is trying to be proactive and get ahead. So while our heads are at the machine shop, I figured we could just take the time to get the short block assembled. We have a Killer B oil pickup, baffle, and a new OEM STI oil pan, Group N engine mounts, ARP 2000s, and we are reusing a lot of the old oiling components such as the oil cooler, the cam gears, things like that. With the oil pumps, make sure you disassemble these, pack them, and red Loctite them down. God forbid you have an oil pump screw back out, you lose oil pressure, and you kill an engine. We took the heads to the machine shop yesterday. I just got them back. While those were at the machine shop, we went ahead and got our short block, a lot of accessories put on, the oil pan, oil pump, oil cooler, new oil filter, head studs are in, whole bunch of small stuff. So with these cylinder heads, I actually need to go through here and replace the valve springs in all of these and the oil seals for the valves, so the valve stem seals. So we are using a set of Brian Crower valve springs. Wherever I put those, I gotta find those. It's not too bad to swap out the valve springs and the seals. I'm using the Company 23 valve spring compressor tool. I also let all of the new keepers and seals soak in some oil. So after we get the springs swapped out and the new valve stem seals on, the heads can go on. I'd like to try to get the engine in tonight. We'll see though, because it's already 2 o'clock. It took me 2 hours to go, 1 hour to go get the heads, 1 hour to come back. So let's jump on it. Start swapping out some valve springs. If you've never swapped out valve springs in Subaru heads, I will say it is a little bit annoying, but the Company 23 valve spring compressor tool does make it easy. If you can soak your keepers in assembly lube, when you go to put them onto the stem of the valve, they do grab on and they cling on there rather well, so that way they don't fall off. Because it's the biggest thing, man. Sometimes they just fall off, but you guys can see them. Brand new retainers in there. Those are the titanium ones with steel valve springs. This set specifically is Brian Crower. Now the springs are the only thing that we have replaced in the cylinder head. I did swap in brand new valve stem seals, obviously, because we're already taking the springs off. They're right there, you might as well put new seals in. But the valve springs will help with a little bit of control over valve float if we do decide to rev this engine out a little bit farther. High mileage stock valve springs, if you start to push them too far, can tend to float the valves, which is not something that you want. But heads go on easy, everything's rebuilt. It's a smooth rebuild at this point. For timing, we are reusing all of the old timing components. They are still rather fresh with less than 5,000 miles on them. The only thing that we did replace was the tensioner, and we inspected everything else. Everything else checked out just fine, so you can totally reuse that stuff. Ooh, we have essentially got an engine that is ready to go in the car now. I have been knocking this out. Doing the valve springs took a little bit longer than I anticipated. It took me about an hour per head. And then I just went to town and just built the entire engine because I was on a roll and I want to get this thing done. I feel guilty having customer cars here longer than I feel like they should be. So I try to get them done as quick as I can within capabilities and obviously within reason. So, you know, we've just been knocking it out. Ideally, for the most part, I should be able to finish the car tomorrow. It's about 9 p.m. right now, and I told myself I'm not leaving the shop till this engine is back in the car. So let me show you where we're at, because it's pretty much good to go at this point. We have the assembled engine here. We reused the timing belt that was on the car. The only thing that we did swap was the idler pulley. We reused everything else because he did recently do timing on this. We have a brand new FP green sitting on here, a brand new Grimspeed up pipe. We have group N engine mounts, a brand new OEM oil pan, OEM STI oil pan down here with a Killer Bee baffle and pickup tube, a beautiful little fluid damper right here. So this engine is ready to live a happy and healthy life. This is one of my V2 engines. This is an open deck rod piston engine. This should be good for about 500 to 550 wheel. That FP green is going to go really nicely with this engine. A set of S1 cams would have been, like, honestly spot on perfect, but the stock cams on this will do totally fine. So what we need to do at this point is get this thing off of the engine stand, get it onto our hoist here, get our new clutch put on here, which we have an ACT HDSS going on this engine. Once the clutch is on, in she goes, ready for us to start putting everything else on tomorrow. We've got our engine installed in the car. I opted to install this one with the turbo on it. No change in installing it. At this point, I think I want to jump to, similar to the last car, I think I want to jump to the fuel system next, because once the fuel system, well, actually, I'll probably do some of the, before I jump to the fuel system, what do I want to do? We're going to do some of the accessories first. We're going to do AC compressor, get the AC belt on, do the radiator, down pipe, and then from there we'll probably jump to the fuel system and start getting a lot of that on. Once the fuel system's done, we can get the intake manifold on. Once the intake manifold's on, we can start doing a lot of the smaller accessories going around the engine. I would have preferred a new AOS line kit. This AOS it's a V2, so it's probably a couple years old. And all the lines, dude, they're hard, they're crusty. So I have a brand new AOS here. Maybe he wants to upgrade. Let me call him. No answer, so I'll talk to him in a little bit. For now, let's start knocking out the accessory stuff. Alternator, radiator, downpipe, AC compressor, AC belt, things like that. To reassembly, I like to kind of do the opposite of what I did before. I'll start with getting a lot of the accessories on, a lot of the coolant hoses, the fuel systems, anything that has to go underneath the intake manifold is really what I try to focus on first, because once I get the intake manifold on, everything else just kind of falls into place and goes in rather easy. It makes it way easier doing it this way because you can get the turbo inlet on the turbo securely, not have to force it under the manifold, get the harness nice and tucked underneath of the manifold as well, and kind of clean up a lot of the stuff that would otherwise be kind of an eyesore in a stock engine bay. So you can kind of tuck everything a lot better. Once the intake manifold goes on, it's pretty much smooth sailing from there, and you can start getting a lot of the other things knocked out, such as boost controller, the AOS, your intake, everything like that, and you can really start to make it look like a complete engine bay again. We just started cranking things out, boys. We just started knocking them out. I was feeling crazy. I drank an energy drink. I drank a coffee. I just started going to town. I was pretty much done. My hands are dirty, and I'm pretty sure I broke my left finger, but that's all right. I am pretty sure that I broke my left index finger, which is that's not cool. Anyways, engine is pretty much all assembled. I'm waiting on a heater core hose, which we can get that tomorrow. Once the heater core hose is in, the top mount intercooler can go on. The battery can go in. We need to swap the fuel pump for a drop-in AEM 340. We need to install a wideband gauge and an oil pressure sensor gauge. I've already got the sensors in the engine bay, and I've already ran them through the firewall behind the AOS. So, dude, it looks good. For a little FP green stock location turbo car, this thing look good. You know you want your engine bay to look like that if you a stock location car. Look how good that looks, man. Look how clean, neat, tidy everything is organized. We got our AOS, boom, wrapping around beautifully to our turbo inlet. Intake fits beautifully. Cobb map sensor, little FP green action going on there. Clean as can be. This has an ETS top mount, which I'm not looking forward to putting in because that's going to be a tight fit down there. But aside from that, pretty happy with how this one's come out. Should be done with this car tomorrow. Then we're just waiting on a base tune, and then we can get this thing fired up and get it back to its owner. I think he said he was picking this thing up on Thursday, so it's pretty sweet. I conclude though, I'll see you guys in the morning. Today should be the final day of working on this Subaru. All we have left to do is install the gauges. We have oil pressure and AFR. We also have a AEM 340 fuel pump that we have to toss in. Once those are done, the intercooler can go in, the battery can go in, we can check for fuel leaks. I have the base map, so we can load up a base map on this thing, get it started, get it burped, and then get this thing set aside. When it comes to doing these AEM or drop-in pumps, these are pretty much the easiest fuel pump you can do. You just take apart the assembly, you pull out the old fuel pump, you put in the new one. If you have a fuel pump hanger that is this style, you do need a fuel pump with hooks because that is how it locks in. But it's self-explanatory. I will say when you do swap out those fuel pumps, make sure they only use one O-ring or two. In the event of this AEM 340, it only uses one. Fuel pump is installed, gauges are installed and working. I have to put the adapter in the AM gauge because it's the X line, so it's kind of small, or it's just kind of short, so you have to use an adapter. Look at these little guys here. Because they're so shallow, you can't actually get a band on them to seal up, so we have to use these on those X line ones that are super thin. So at this point, I gotta build oil pressure. So I have the fuel pump fuse pulled and the crank position disconnected. I'm gonna crank it till I see pressure on the oil pressure sensor. You guys tell me if you see any oil leaks in the engine bay. Once we have oil pressure, it's go time. See if this thing fires up. It should. No reason it shouldn't. Fucking battery is on its last leg. Wait.
Only like 8 years old.
That was made in 17. Do we have oil pressure? Yep. We gotta burp it, let it come up to temp, set fuel pressure, which should be solid. Nice. It's saying kosher. We have fantastic oil pressure right now. As it's still coming up, we're at about 40 to 45 PSI in that range. That's on 10W40. I need coolant temp to come up where the thermostat's gonna open, so that way I can make sure that all of the bubbles get out of the cooling system. It runs incredibly smooth. I'm very happy with how this engine sounds. I will probably do one oil change for him before he picks up the car, since this is a fresh motor, just to get any of the crap out of there. It never hurts to do so. But dude, pretty stoked with it. So yeah, I guess actually while we wait, because I know some of you guys are gonna ask where the dyno videos for the blue hatch. If you've made it this far in this video, I will unfortunately say that car blew up. No fault of the tuner, no fault of me, no fault of the engine. The map sensor actually failed at 6,000 RPM. I'll put a clip in right here. The ECU saw 142 PSI of boost, and when it does that, it's obviously going to go based off of the table in the ECU, so it dumped fuel hydrolock the engine with fuel, can't compress liquid, liquid had to go somewhere, pressure had to go somewhere, pressure go out top of the engine, so there's a big hole. So you guys are gonna see that car again here soon. It's really unfortunate. I've never seen that happen. We've been using the Cobb 4-bar map sensors on a lot of cars, but seeing one fail at redline, that'll take out your engine real quick, especially a stock motor. So yeah, unfortunately no dyno video on that for you guys, but this one, we'll do a dyno video on this one. FP Green car should be solid. Should be about a month or month and a half, somewhere in that time frame when it goes to the dyno. But let's finish burping it. Go take it on a quick little test drive and get this thing wrapped up. Also, I know some people are gonna point it out. Yeah, the intercooler sits slanted right now. It's the couplers. I already talked to him about it. He's gonna order new couplers, put new ones on, but that one's too short. It's just, it makes it sit weird, okay? So the bottom hose should be warm. It's getting there. It still feels a little cold, but it'll help burp it a little bit. While Subaru cooling systems can be a pain in the butt to burp sometimes, it is so freaking necessary to get all of that air out. It'll keep the car from overheating. It'll keep the car from potentially having an air pocket stuck in there, where if you have an air pocket stuck in there and you go to do like heavy hits, there is potential that it can cause more damage and create other issues. So just take the time, make sure that you do get all of the bubbles out that you can. Look at that, man, we got something out of the radiator too. Just make sure that you get all of that out. All that, all them bubbles, man. So let me at least just get through burping this right now, and then we'll probably just drive it around the parking lot a little bit, make sure everything else checks out. There we have it, you guys. Another one checked off, ready to go back to its owner. This is honestly probably one of the best street car Subarus you could build. FP Green, top mount, even though I'm not a fan of top mounts, solid for street cars. 1050cc injectors, pump gas, this thing will be an absolute riot for him. Solid car, I'm super happy with the outcome on it. Now we can get back to some regular scheduled programming up until we get some other customer cars coming in here soon. We're gonna be jumping back on the 22B. We have some painting we gotta do. I got a whole bunch of suspension stuff in. We can really start making some more progress on that. I'm still waiting on the wide body, which does suck, but you know, we made some money. I'm trying to pay off the truck. Trying to pay off the truck ASAP. I don't like having car payments, but it's whatevs. Anyways, if you guys like the build, if you're excited to see this car on the dyno, which this one will live 100%, go ahead and hit that like button, turn it black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan. If this is a build that you can relate to and something that you'd probably build at home, send it, man. These are solid, so this is a really solid setup for this car, but with that, that's all I got for you guys on this one. So if you like the video, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit that like button, turn it black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan, whatever color it turns for you. Color of the day, we'll do blurple. Freaking blurple. Blurple car. Blurple color of the day. I'll catch you guys in the next one. So peace out, homies. Woo!